world assumes that the Revelation of John was written approximately 2,000 years ago. But these traditional sources do not agree on the exact date of the book, with claims that it was written during the reigns of Claudius, Nero, Domitian, or Trajan, a span of up to 70 years. Nor do all modern scholars agree with assigning the book to the reign of Domitian. Why is the dating of the Revelation of John a subject of scholarly debate? The reason that not all scholars agree on the dating of the book of Revelation is the simple and important fact that the book itself does not have a date. Nor is there any concrete evidence in the text itself that provides a firm foundation for assigning a reliable date. Professor A.T. Fomenko, a Russian mathematician and a full member of the Russian Academy of Sciences, described the situation in no uncertain terms. Not one of the approximately 230 Greek manuscripts of the book can be reliably dated themselves, let alone provide a date for the book of Revelation. This is true for the papyri and minuscules with the text of Revelation. Because of these vexing chronological problems, the establishment of a reliable date for the apocalypse remains an open and unresolved issue for scholars. The so-called traditional sources, though appearing to provide trustworthy dates for the book, are not reliable either. Why else does this issue remain? Saint Irenaeus, the traditional source closest to the presumed writing of the Apocalypse, claimed that John saw the vision shortly before his own day. According to the accepted chronology, Domitian reigned near the end of the 1st century AD. Irenaeus's claim, recorded in his Against Heresies, is believed to have been written around 100 AD. In other words, the statement of Irenaeus was made approximately 1 century after the claimed fact. There are no contemporary claims. Clement of Alexandria, who is believed to have lived at the same time as Irenaeus, is said to have claimed that John wrote down his vision during the reign of Domitian. However, this claim is one of inference. In his homily, "Who is the rich man that shall be saved?" Clement said that John left the island of Patmos after the death of an unnamed tyrant. Clement states openly that he has no direct knowledge of his information, but is passing along a tale or narrative. Domitian is not explicitly named. Another 2nd century church father, Hippolytus, wrote that John gave the Apocalypse during his exile on Patmos. It was the Emperor Domitian that banished him there. The identity of Hippolytus and the authenticity of his writings are the focus of continued debate. Victorinus of Patau, who purportedly lived in the second half of the 3rd century, took his cue from Hippolytus that John was exiled to Patmos by Domitian. He assumes that John wrote the Apocalypse at this time. Jerome, a church father of the 4th century, also believed that John was sent to Patmos by Domitian and there received the revelation. The 4th century Epiphanius, bishop of Salamis, believed that John was exiled to Patmos by Claudius Caesar, thereby contradicting Irenaeus, Clement, Hippolytus, Victorinus, and Jerome. It is uncertain to which Claudius Caesar Epiphanius was referring to, Claudius or Nero, since both were known as Claudius Nero. Both Claudius and Nero lived well before Domitian. Theophylact, who lived in the 11th century, believed that John's exile occurred in Trajan's reign. Trajan ruled after the Emperor Domitian. The traditional sources are the primary basis upon which historians assign an approximate date to John's apocalyptic vision. Unfortunately, the traditional sources are not contemporary with the claimed dates and are separated by a century or more. Though most make the claim for the reign of Domitian, there is disagreement among the sources. One source doesn't give the name of a particular emperor, but is assumed to do so. Another is overtly passing along a tale he has heard. Modern scholars do not agree either, and for good reason. There is room for disagreement due to the unreliability of the source material. Still, the disagreement among the sources and the scholars amounts to less than 200 years. This still leaves us with the original quandary. How can the time is at hand describe a gap of almost 2,000 years? Reducing the gap by 100 or 200 years does not resolve this dilemma.